What's up, guys? If you read the video description or the caption or the title, then you know what this video is about. Finally, I am talking about the Fuji x100V. I have gone without talking about it for this long, but I've decided the time has finally come, and why not put it up against one of my favorite cameras? So let's do it. Let's talk about the Fuji x100V and the Ricoh GRIII and why these are two of the best cameras you can get for everyday photography. I will be talking about my thoughts and how I feel about the cameras, but also which one do I think is better, if any, and how do I carry them, okay? First thing I will jump off into is the Fuji x100V. If you see this camera, then you know all about it. I'm sure you've seen a million reviews on it. If you want one, it's probably because of TikTok, or it's because you just like small, compact cameras that are premium and they have solid as a tank build quality. This is an extremely hard camera to come by, and it shouldn't be. It is an amazing camera. It's not $2,000 amazing, but I'll get into that. This camera features a 23mm fixed f2 lens. It does not come off this camera. A lot of people call this a point and shoot, but this lens is fixed onto this camera. A little bit of dust on there. This lens does not come off. Now, the Ricoh GRIII is fixed with an 18.3mm lens, which is the equivalent of 28mm and 35 full frame, or excuse me, 35mm full frame. So you have a 35mm equivalent and a 28mm equivalent. So a little bit tighter, a little bit wider. Now the GRIII does make a GRIIIX. That is a 40mm equivalent, which is a little bit closer to this, a little tighter, but it's gonna be a little bit more comparable if you're looking at just focal lengths alone. I'll go over some pros and some cons over both cameras as far as specs wise, and then I'll jump into what I personally think about it. This is a 26 megapixel camera. This one is a 24 megapixel camera, which isn't really much of a difference. They're both APS-C CMOS crop sensor cameras, so there's no battle in that field. Price is gonna be a big one. This one retails for $13.99. It comes in silver and black. $13.99 is the retail. There's no way you're gonna find one for retail anymore. It's impossible. The resale market on this is around $1,700, $1,500, $2,000. I think $1,500 is probably the max, maybe $1,600, where somebody's hard time of going to get it, but anything over that, it's just not really worth it, in my opinion. The Ricoh, on the other hand, retails for $996 for the black version, just the normal black paint version, and then $1,019 for this street version. They call the Urban the 3X, but this normal silver retails for about $1,000. Now the resale market on these is much better. You can get them for around $600 to $800 used, sometimes $850, but you don't have to pay crazy overpriced. Now there was a little surge of them being kind of expensive just due to not being able to get an x100V and a lot of people falling for this camera, but they're just two totally different cameras in my opinion. The x100V has a EVF and an OVF viewfinder, right? That's gonna be one of the major selling points to this camera, in my opinion, is it has a viewfinder. Hopefully that focused, I'm sorry if it didn't, but it has a viewfinder on it, and the Ricoh has no viewfinder, just a back screen. Now, for me, that's okay because I know what I'm getting. For a lot of photographers, that's a deal breaker. A lot of people are looking for the EVF or the OVF or just some sort of screen viewfinder to look through. I think with the compactability of this camera, you can judge yourself by the size difference, but I would just say the compactability of it, if it had a viewfinder, it would have to be so small that it would probably be useless, and it's probably not worth the headache of Ricoh to try to fit a viewfinder in this tiny camera. Now they do make external viewfinders that you can put on the cold shoe, but I don't know, I've never had a problem with it. To me, I think the back screen is fine. I mean, if you're a real photographer, then I can understand people and their gripe for that, but for me, it works. I don't think it's that bad. Another thing is going to be the built-in flash. This has a built-in flash the Ricoh does not have a built-in flash. Now the GR2 version had a built-in flash, but it was a little bit chunkier than this one, so I'm assuming they removed that to get the size down and to make it more compact. Something that they both share is they both have film simulations. The Fujifilm is going to have, I want to say it's 10 stock film simulations, so it's going to have a little more than Ricoh, which I think they have 6, maybe 7. The film simulations is going to be the biggest difference just based on your preference. Now, I've said this a million times. I prefer Ricoh's color profiles when it comes to black and white. That made no sense. I prefer their black and white profiles. I said color profiles because they're all, it's just lack of, but whatever. I prefer their black and white profile. Fujifilm has way better color profiles, and they have a little bit more flexibility than the Ricoh does. But the high contrast black and white profile for the Ricoh is bar none to me. I think it's the best black and white film simulation I have found on any camera that comes stock in the camera. Fuji is going to have more customizable functions as far as film presets. You can add, I want to say it's up to 7 film presets. The Ricoh, you can only add 2. So that's a little bit of a drawback, but you work with what you got. I'll be honest, I haven't had any extra film presets added to my Ricoh. I strictly use the positive film. And there's a couple more, but positive film is kind of my go-to outside of the black and white. For Fuji, I'm all over the place, and I use a lot of their customs. So take with that what you wish. A big, huge winning factor for me on this camera is image stabilization. It has IBIS built into the camera. That is a huge factor when shooting at slower shutter speeds in low light. This camera really does hold up well at handheld shots in low light, which a lot of cameras do not. You get a lot of blur. This is a really big factor, especially considering how small this camera is. For it to have IBIS is that's a pretty big winner for me. It does also have in-camera RAW processing. So if you shoot RAW files and you don't want to edit in your computer, you can edit the actual RAW file here as far as contrast and exposure, stuff like that. You can edit it and then save a JPEG in the camera and then just transfer it to your phone through Bluetooth or your computer or, you know, wireless cable or wired cable, however you want to, but you can edit the RAW in the camera, which is also cool, but I don't think a lot of people capitalize on that feature, but it is a stunning feature in my opinion. I go to a drawback. The battery life is absolute garbage. You get about 150 shots, maybe 200 shots per battery. If you buy a Ricoh, you will have to have a battery, absolutely have to. The Fuji, I want to say it gets 350 shots per battery, which isn't great, but it's still doable. I mean, I can take it out all day, you know what I mean? Because I don't shoot a ton of shots, but 350 shots is a lot. The Ricoh, if it's powered on and it's constantly on, it gets warm to the touch and the battery drains extremely fast. So just be aware, if you're looking at either, the battery is going to be the clear winner, is going to be the X100V. The Ricoh falls a little short, but I mean, it's a small camera, small battery. But they both shoot video. I have never used the Ricoh for video, but my friend Derek used his video on his 3X recently, and it's actually not bad. It does shoot 1080p video. The Fuji X100V shoots 4K. I don't think you should shoot video on either, but if you're in a pinch and you need to and you have nothing else with you, it will suffice to shoot a relatively decent quality video. Another difference is going to be this back screen is just a part of the camera. It's a fixed screen. It doesn't do anything. You can just see. It's relatively good, don't get me wrong, but it's fixed. Cool thing about the Fuji, I almost dropped that. Whatever though. Cool thing about the Fuji is it has this articulating back screen that I don't know if a lot of people actually utilize, but I do think that's pretty cool. I use it relatively often, but I do like that feature, that the screen, and it's also really flush to the camera. I mean, it's pretty flat. You can't tell that it's articulating unless you actually just know. And I just told you, so go me. The build quality on the X100V is really good. I mean, it feels like a good camera. It's heavy. Like it feels like you're paying, you know, I think the retail is $13.99. You're paying $1,500 with tax. It feels like a $1,500 camera. The Ricoh, it's okay. It feels a little plasticky, but I mean, I don't know. It's also $500 cheaper. So you take that with, you know, what you wish, but it doesn't feel great. You can kind of feel the you can kind of feel a little shake when you shake it. I don't really even know how to explain it, but you can kind of feel it shaking a little bit. I don't know. It doesn't feel like the best camera ever, so if you dropped it, it probably would break. I keep mine in a case pretty much all the time, but I said, I don't know, I had any problems with it. I carry mine way more than I carry my X100V, but that's just because how small it is. A few more things I'll go into. X100V does have weather sealing. It's a weather sealed camera, so you can get it wet. It does have these microphone holes on top that a lot of people tape up because they do say that moisture can get inside if it gets really wet. But I'll show you some pictures I've taken of mine in the rain, and it's been just fine. No moisture, condensation, anything like that. The Ricoh is not weather sealed. It actually has a lot of bad reviews for getting dust inside. Now, I'm gonna be the main guy to tell you, I don't listen to the horror stories or the people trying to freak you out. I've had this thing in my pocket all the time. Everywhere I go, I have no dust on my sensor. I don't think it's as much of a problem as people think it is, but I think it does happen to some people. Take with that what you wish. I have not had any issues with dust, and I have a Labrador that sheds everywhere. It's hair, but I mean, I guess it's kind of dust. Same thing, who knows? Another negative I've heard is people have issues with the scroll wheel. If you can hear that clicking, mine is fine, but some people claim that their scroll wheel gets really loose. I've heard that, not nearly as much as the dust thing, but I don't know, maybe people just find things to complain about, but I like to be honest and just tell you what it is. Some people complain about the dust and the scroll wheel. I haven't had any of those, but maybe I'm lucky, who knows? The last thing I'll go into on both of these cameras is portability versus availability. The X100V is not available. Now, I'm not saying that you should settle for a Ricoh because it is, but take with that information what you will. They are two totally different cameras. People ask me all the time, which one do I prefer? I don't think I do. I carry them separately. Sometimes I carry them together, depending on where I'm going. It's just, they're not the same. I shoot two different focal lengths. I shoot 28mm, I shoot 35mm. I carry my Fuji when I'm going out to shoot. I think when I leave the house and I'm going to shoot something, I carry my Fuji because it feels like a camera that I'm going to take images with. I carry my Ricoh because it's fun. It reminds me to take photos. If I'm at the store with my kid or my wife somewhere and I'm just out and I see something, I pull my camera out, I take a picture of it, I put it back in my pocket, I keep on going about my time. You know what I mean? If I'm out to eat, I take it out with me, I take a quick little photo, then I turn it off, I put it back in my pocket. I think it's so small that it fits in the palm of my hand so easily that to me, it's easy just to hold it, put it away, do what I will with it, do what I want to with it, and it doesn't take away from the action. It's not like when you have a big camera and people look at you like you're a photographer. Would you have the Ricoh with you? If I'm walking around somewhere and I top it out and take a picture, it doesn't look like a serious camera, so therefore I'm not really turning people off. So therefore I carry this a lot more just because of the size of it, the use of it, the feel of it. It's just a much easier camera. It looks like a toy, so it's just, I don't know. But the Fuji is more of like, okay, I'm going specifically to take an image. I'm going to take this camera with me because this is what I like. As most of you guys know, I transitioned from taking huge cameras with me a long time ago. I do have my Canon R6 too, but I don't take it everywhere just because it's cumbersome. And that's not really the fun photography for me. The fun photography for me is the small cameras. I like to be the guy that just walks the street and I just snap photos with something that's kind of like, you know, small and tiny. That's what I like to do. So I couldn't compare them. I think they're two completely separate cameras, and I only made this review for the people that always ask me to compare them. Which one should I get? Which one should I get? Get whichever one you like. Get them both. I mean, whichever one you prefer. This is a great camera. This is a great camera. I don't think you can go wrong with either. It's gonna be money well spent either way. The Ricoh is just phenomenal with image quality. The Fuji is just an overall badass camera. I mean, do with that what you will, but make a decision. Thank you guys, I appreciate it. I just want to say thank you guys, as always. I appreciate you for tuning in. I appreciate you for watching. Hit that subscribe button, smash that like button. Do me a favor, leave a comment. Do you agree? Which camera do you like better? Do you think there's a clear winner? Do you prefer one over the other? Was this a stupid video? Hey, whatever matters, I appreciate you. Leave a comment, share with your friends, and until next time, man, be easy.